Welcome to the Oracle Scroll. This is a new year, a new decade, and a new beginning. We have a new look and a new sound. So we appreciate you joining us today. I'm Kevin Walder, your host, and I will be joined by guests along the way as we assemble information on how we can make this our best life, how we can create the world we live in. And this evening, we are blessed to have Norman W. Wilson, PhD, join us. Norman is a teacher, a healer, and a shaman, among a lot of other things. He has authored over 30 books, and he has a wealth of knowledge on natural healing practices and shamanism. And that's what he's going to speak with us this evening on, is vibrational healing, the shaman's way. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Norman, and we'll mute everyone else, and take it away, Norman.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin and Todd. I'm just delighted to be with you this evening on the Oracle's Scroll, despite whatever's going on. And I see some people there, and it's great to be with you. Before I begin my really formal presentation, I want to get a couple of things up front. Yes, I am a shaman. No, I am not a Native American. I was trained by a Mi'kmaq Indian in Quebec Province, Canada, beginning in 1940. Well, that gives you a little how old I am now. Second, third, I don't do the healing. I act as a conduit. Like a wire does electricity, it conducts it. So I use the word healer because that's what people know. And also, whenever I make a suggestion or recommendation to any of my clients, I always preface it with, please check with your medical doctor first. I do not offer my services or any of my writings as an alternative to sound medical practice. So with that up front, I feel better. Okay. Yeah, I want to go back to 80 years ago, if you don't mind. The Nobel laureate winner in medicine by the name of Dr. Sent Gorky made the following statement, and it's so significant today. He said, in every culture and in every medical practice, every medical tradition, before ours, healing was conducted and accomplished by moving energy. 80 some years ago. Okay. It took us a little while to come back to that, I think. Our early healers, whom we've now come use the umbrella term called shaman, understood that sound created vibration, and that vibration created energy, and that flowed through the body and helped it to heal. We know that all things in today's world vibrate. Inanimate, inanimate things, humans, animals, plants, stones, rivers, oceans, lakes. The earth itself is constantly vibrating. The universe, actually the cosmos, is vibrating. So we've come to some interesting speculations about all this in today. Most likely, all of you know or have heard of the fact that there is a field that surrounds our physical bodies. Okay, it's called the biofield. And you may not be aware of the fact that this biofield is electromagnetic. Okay, and because it is, certain sounds, certain vibrations created by those sounds can change its pattern. And there's the secret. The electromagnetism then can be used to flow as a positive way to help people heal themselves. I want to come back also to the late Bruce Tenio. Maybe some of you know of him. He was at Washington State University, Eastern Washington State University. He created a machine called the Calibrated Frequency Monitor. And because of him, we're able to determine the vibrational frequencies of things, including human beings and plants and animals, essential oils, crystals. Even in some cases, some minor diseases, such as a cold, for example. So because of him, we now have a tool in which we can check vibrations. Another name that I think you may be familiar with is Tesla. Nikola Tesla made the following statement. He also said, if we could eliminate certain outside frequencies that interfered in our bodies, then we would have a chance of resisting disease. Now, in my business, I call these outside frequencies blockages, and I'm sure all of you have heard of that. So in today's science, we also know that everything human and animal is made up of cells, and those cells are composed of molecules. The molecules are composed of atoms, and each atom is composed of subatomic particles, neutrons, protons, quarks, etc. Now, additionally, according to the engineers at Washington University, we know that there are 100 trillion, that is now, tiny little atoms, I'm going to call it that way, in a single cell. That's the number 100 with 12 zeros. That threw me just for a second. I can't quite wrap my head around it, but that's all right. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's 100 trillion atoms in a single cell. Now this should grab you. We know that there is about 100 billion cells just in the human brain. You can wonder why we get headaches now, don't you? If they all start vibrating. Yeah. Now, that's interesting on itself, but also, depending on the weight and height of a person, we know how many atoms there are in a human being, or how many cells, if you will. There are 37.2 trillion cells in a human being. Multiply that times 100 trillion atoms, then you can begin to see how complicated we are and how things can throw us off. Mm-hmm. And I think this is important for us to come to some understanding that vibration is not just a modern tool that we're talking about as something that's been around a long time, and is a part of our everyday lives. We now know that the human body vibrates between 62 and 78 megahertz per second. Okay. Now, when the human body vibrates below that, 62 to 70 hertz, we have an illness, we have a malfunction, we have a disease, we have something happening to us, either on the physical, mental, or emotional scale. Now, I like to make a little distinction here between mental and emotional. For me, mental means something physically in the brain, the synapses are misfiring or not firing correctly, not a correct blood flow. Emotion means our feelings, okay, and how we are feeling. Are we hurt, upset, mad, whatever? And I think that's important for us to understand that particular aspect. We also know now that we can measure, as I mentioned, plants, essential oils, and so on. Essential oils begin at 32 megahertz, okay? And that is goes up to 320 for rose oil, which is the most expensive and powerful. In fact, there's nothing in the organic world more significant than that, more powerful than that, if you will. I think that we forget sometimes that these things in the natural world, they weren't called essential oils then. I just boiled up plants and put a value, used it, or they made some kind of a sample using beeswax, if you will, and applied that to it. What do I do now in the event of sometimes healing situations? Before I get into that, is there anything that reduces our vibrational level? And yes, there are. First, negative attitude, negative thoughts. Being surrounded by negative people. being in a hostile work environment, okay, being frustrated on I-5, going into Seattle or somewhere. Those all come and get us, I think, and get us into trouble. The electromagnetic frequencies of our cell phones, our computers, the Alexa type devices that we have in our home that talk to us and give us information. Microwaves, the Wi-Fi itself, all contribute, any of those radiations, to a problem in our natural vibrational flow. Now, besides that, I think there are three big ones that I sort of get hammered away at here, and that's the stress, okay, anxiety, and anger. They will throw the whole kit and caboodle of your body and your system off whack, quicker than any of the other things as far as I'm concerned. So what do I do then to change the vibrational pattern of a client? Now notice I say client, not patient. I reserve that for the medical profession. First thing I do is I have an interview, an initial interview, and I try to find out what it is they feel is their problem or problems. I try to get some sense of their intention. What is it that they want from me? What is it they hope to accomplish by coming to me for a shamanic healing or a Reiki healing, as far as that's concerned? And once I get that done, I then take and smudge them. Now I use several things for smudging. That's I sometimes use, this is mountain sage, white sage, comes to me from California. A friend gathers it from me there. Sometimes I use cedar, okay, and I set that on fire. My favorite is to use Palo Santo, okay, and the reason why it is because some people are a little sensitive to the aroma from the sages or the cedar. It's a little pungent for them. Palo Santo isn't quite so strong, but it's just as effective as clearing away negative energy, clearing away germs, bugs, etc., that kind of thing. So I then do that. Then after they've been smudged all the way around, I take a divining rod, okay, and this is a real complicated, it's a piece of old coat hanger that I took and bent, but unlike other people, I took a piece of plastic straw, and put it on the end of that so that I'm not the one moving it. Okay, so I go all over the patient with that, but I also give it to them to try it to see that I'm not moving it. One time here, not too long ago, I watched a video of a well-known healer demonstrating the use of the rod to determine energy levels and so on. And all of a sudden they brought a close-up and I saw her fingers go. And I thought, no, that's not right. That's quackery as far as I'm concerned. If we're going to do that, let's do it right. Sometimes I use my pendulum, and my pendulum is a black obsidian arrowhead wrapped in silver, and on the end of it there's a little ball of shungite. Okay, now I don't hang the pendulum like this. Okay. I put it between my fingers here like this so it steadies it more. And so I go around the patient with that. Maybe with the patient, I just have the client, excuse me. I prefer the divining rod. Where it stops, it tells me that there is a problem. Okay. I'll tell you a quick story. I was doing a demonstration. I had a very attractive young lady up on the massage table. It stopped at her heart, and somebody said, "Oh my God, she's having a heart attack." I thought, "Oh no, please not." So I whispered over to her that what I was detecting is that she was having a heartache. And she said, "Yes, I just went through a divorce." So then I said, "You mind if I tell the group that you're not having a heart attack, you're just having a broken heart?" She said, "Oh, fine, thanks a lot." So, we have to be a little careful with that. So where it stops then, that becomes the point of my concentration with my healing, whatever it is I'm going to do. And I say my healing, and I don't do it myself. Okay, before I go into that, then what I do is I have the client no shoes or socks on. And I take several essential oils. I put a drop on their heel. I then rub it in each foot. And then I give them some and I put it on their wrist and I have them rub their wrist. And it takes about 20 seconds for the essential oil to get in the body, 20 minutes for the whole body, in the bloodstream, excuse me. Then I put 2 drops behind each ear and just gently massage it down the throat line right there. Then I ask them to please hold some crystals in their hands for me and don't squeeze them. You know, don't make a fist. I give them a chance to hook. I use clear quartz. Okay. This one is shungite. And it has a nice little bluish color in there. And sometimes I use also Herkimer diamond. And I don't know whether you can see the diamond or not there. And I lay that right in the center of their forehead, third eye. In why it's very powerful for spiritual and rejuvenation of one's energy. Okay, so now I have them ready now. And what I do then is then I take my drum, and I don't have a skin drum, I am using manual drum. And I very, very slow. You hear that? Very, very slow.
Good.
And I walk around the patient, beginning at the feet. And I then reverse it and come back around. Now, I begin at the feet because the feet are the source of so many of our problems physically. We abuse them. We put plastic on them, artificial material on them, and stockings and socks, dyes in our shoes, false leather. And we stand on them for hours. So a lot of that. Now in Reiki, we recommend you begin at the head. And even on my Reiki students, I say, okay, you can begin at the feet if you want to. So then I reverse, and I do that about 10 minutes. Okay, going back and around and around. What I'm doing is just not getting a big heavy beat, just a slow, deliberate beat, change it. Once I've done that, let me put my microphone back on. I lost it, moving around. Is that good now? No.
Oh.
Okay. It fell off. There we go. I then go and begin with a rattle. And this is a beautiful one. You may know the person who made this, a guy by the name of Randy Billings. So then I go around the patient with this for several minutes, just making sounds. I have a little wooden flute. I don't play a melody like Paul Ninehouse now, but I make a sound close to wherever the problem is, okay? And I'm sensing. Then I have an old couple of bones. They're actually a musical instrument. You can get to a person's place where they're having an issue very nicely. And this next thing I use is a kid's toy, but it makes wonderful vibrational sounds. And I go all over the patient with that. So I'm doing this, for about an hour, okay, to give them a good chance to change the vibration. Now, after I'm finished with them, I make sure they sit up on the massage table. Don't put a foot down. I ask them how many fingers they see, because then you go into a little hypnotic state with the drumming and stuff. They may even go to sleep. And if they're a little drowsy or something, I don't want them to get off the massage table and fall down. And when they take one foot down, they put their hands in my hands and I hold them until they're down and then they're steady. Then after that, we offer them an herbal tea. And Suzanne has generally made some kind of a delicious little baked goodie. And then we have that tea. Now the herbal teas depend on what the nature of the problem is. If we have a client who has a lot of hypertension, we may use a chamomile tea. Say it again. But anyway, one of the teas that calm them down. Okay, so that basically ends that part of a healing session. 3 days later, I call them and I ask them how they're doing. Okay, And I listen to that. I don't ask them how they feel. I ask them how they're doing. It's a difference. How they feel, I say good or bad. If I ask how they're doing, they give me a little more description and I can tune in. Then, if I sense they need something more, I suggest 2 or 3 things that they can do at home. Unlike a chiropractor, I don't reschedule every 2 weeks or every other month. Okay, I let them go with that. So that's what I fundamentally do. It is all vibration, and it's been around forever and a day. I think that we just need to tune into it a little bit more, Kevin and guests tonight. And we can do so much more for ourselves in terms of what's happening to us. Particularly in today's world, there's a lot of tension out there. People are angry, they're upset, they're frightened, they're blowing their horns at people, they're running around like mad people. This is something that you and I, and people particularly with you, can do to help calm people down. And I want to thank you now, and if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them if I can, I'll say so. Okay.
All right, I can unmute you and let you, I'll just unmute everybody so far and everybody can go ahead and ask away if there's a question. Oh, say, I can't get Sally unmuted. What's going on? Sophie, there we go. Now we're done.
Okay, hi Sally.
Hi.
I have a question. Are you seeing their body while you're doing this, or are you using sound and your dowsing rod to direct your actions? Sort of.
The sound from their bodies, the energy in their bodies directs the dowsing rod. I don't. That's
Okay.
why I use the little plastic on the bottom so they see that they're doing the moving, not me. I think that's important for people to realize that your body really does give off. And you can use anything, as I showed you, you can use a pendulum if it's sensitive enough to do that. In Reiki, when I'm teaching my students to become Reiki, you just use your hands. And you can pick up the energy flow or the vibrational flow with your hands. So that's just one of several things you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Sophie, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, I've done that, yes.
So I have seen a lot lately about, I'm sorry, I've seen a lot lately about music, much the same as what you're talking about, the vibration of music in certain ranges. Do you use any, besides your flute, do you use any other kinds of?
I do have some Shivago tunes that I use sometimes, and I put headphones on them so they can listen to them themselves. I have other people who have drumming CDs and MP3 files that I sometimes use. I can just digress a moment. Many years ago, when I was working on one of my PhDs, one of the candidates had a kibbutz in Israel and dealing with severely autistic children, and found sounds she could communicate with them through sounds. And depending on that, we know now people respond to music, in terms of that have those problems. So it's just a wonderful thing we're finally realize those things. So, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's good. Anyone else?
The handout, is that just some beautiful information about plants and their properties? The handout?
The handout, if you can see that, I'm kind of lost over here. The handout that well, I'll tell you. You want to describe it, Norman? You know more about it than I do.
Okay, one of them is dealing with essential oils and what they're used for, and the other one I think is I forgot what the other one is.
The other one is the healing plants that were used
the plants?
in
Okay,
shamanic
yeah.
healing.
Those are things that I use, and they're limited. They're long list. And I had several other, but I was afraid I wasn't able to get them up because that isn't the way I had them printed out. When I would give a talk, I give those out to people. And so they're little freebies for you. You can print them out. They're pretty darn accurate. They could be modified more, add to them, some taken off. For example, I had a list of what crystals were poisonous. I didn't get that to you. For example, cinnabar is deadly. And it will kill you eventually because it's loaded with arsenic. Uh, Adamite is another one that comes to mind that's heavily loaded with arsenic. And if you make elixirs out of that and drink that over a period of time, if you carry them on your body, you sleep with them, you're going to get into trouble. I do suggest that you have crystals and you put them in your pillow. When my wife was fighting a rare form of bone cancer, I had her doing elixirs. We had crystals under her pillow, at her nightstand, at her computer, everything that was positive in terms of energy and vibration. Well, I think they help.
Yeah.
And I think that's all we can ever ask for is they help.
Right.
I
Right.
don't know whether that answered your question about the two gifts or not.
No, I think you covered it pretty well.
Okay.
I will make a note on the herbal file. It is quite large. It's 19 pages.
Yes,
and
it is.
It's laid out landscape, and so if you can do it. If you have a duplex printer that can print on both sides of the paper, set it up for short edge binding on your layout, and it'll give you, I printed one out today and it worked out really well. But you can flip through it then like a book if you want to have it as a reference. And it looked like there's a lot of information there that was very pertinent. So
Did I miss the handouts?
they're on the chat. You can download them. You can click on the links on the chat.
Okay.
And if that's not working, we can email them to you as well. We have your email, so we can do that.
Okay, good.
So if you want to do it that way, you want us just to send them to you?
Yeah, because I'm not
Okay.
seeing anything on the chat. So
Okay, we can do that. I'll have.
thank you. Thank you. I would appreciate it. Yeah.
I'll have Todd put
Yeah,
that
I'm not
together.
seeing anything either on the chat.
Okay, all right. Just make sure we have your best email address. I think we had one for you. I don't know if it's still the same one.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Mine's still the same.
Okay. All right. So we'll work from there. So yeah, it's what we're dealing with right now with the stuff that that Norman was talking about. We need all of this stuff right now. This is for ourselves, not just those people that we work with, but everybody here needs it too. If we're gonna.
What can we use to apply to ourselves? Now you've talked about, most of you've talked about is to apply to other people.
Yes. Okay. The essential oils are wonderful.
Yes.
Thieves oil. Cedar wood is a great one that you just put a little drop here.
Okay.
Another one would be, well, I have them. I was going to show them to you. They're just little things like this I use. Okay. This one happens to be, that's the Four Thieves oil. Tea tree.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm familiar with tea tree. I use it. Yeah.
Frankincense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Frankincense is excellent. I have a friend of mine in Hollywood who is a movie producer, and his wife is wheelchair bound and has diabetes very bad, and they were going to take her legs off. She has a sore on her leg. I suggested using the frankincense, not on the sore, but around the edges, so that it would stop it from spreading.
Ah.
Okay. So you want to be careful with the frankincense because it's quite powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I love to have rosemary.
Mm-hmm.
Rosemary is excellent to apply just a little bit to your wrist, 2 drops at max. You can, it's the same thing you use in your food. Rosemary is a spice, that kind of. So those are some, and on the list somewhere, there should be some of those kinds of names for you to use. If not, Sophie, ask Kevin and I'll see that you get a list.
Okay, thank you.
I'd gladly have you have that. Mm-hmm.
But I use drumming, and
Mm-hmm.
I have several different kinds of drums that I use.
Mm-hmm.
And just looking for different things to keep my vibrations on a higher level.
Well, one of the things I am so fussy about the essential oils. You can walk into the grocery store and buy pure essential oils.
Mm.
And the problem is that it may not be really pure essential oil. It has 1 drop of pure oil and it can be labeled pure essential oil. So I'm very fussy about it. I'm also buying my essential oils from the country of origin in which they're grown.
Oh,
And I'll tell you this story. I ordered an essential oil from Brazil and I ordered one from Colombia. What a difference.
Mhm.
Because the soil was different. They weren't cheating or anything. For example, France has been having a terrible time with lavender, and it was the best lavender in the world. It got contaminated with aluminum.
Mm.
So I always look for where is the original source, and I have a person who buys these things for me. And just be cautious with it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's such a ripoff. And there are a lot of groups selling essential oils around nowadays. You can pick them up even on Amazon.
Mhm.
You know, we even use lavender hydrosol, which we've used for years. And you get a good essential oil in lavender. It's when I grow my own lavenders, but I don't have the equipment to take and go through the whole process of getting essential oil. That's a good point about that, I think. And I think we need to be aware of that. I hate seeing people ripped off thinking they're going to get something, and then they won't trust it anymore.
Mhm.
And there's so many things in the natural world. Dandelions are wonderful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As a kid, we used to eat them.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Now we want to kill them off.
Mhm.
Things
How
like
did
that.
you eat? How did you eat dandelions? How do you eat dandelions?
How do you use?
How do you eat dandelions?
Oh, cook them. And
Okay.
particularly the flower blossom is excellent. It's very high in antioxidants.
Mhm.
It's perfect. Nowadays, we spray the yards and so many times to get rid of them. But when you live out in the farm country, as I did and still do, actually, they were good. They're good nutrients.
Well, the leaves are an excellent green as well. They're
Oh,
kind
the
of
leaves, yes,
little
like a
little
spinach.
bitter, and yeah,
A little bit.
they're good as a
Yeah, a
cook.
little zip.
I've never had them raw. I don't think I've had them cooked.
I don't think I've ever eaten them raw either.
Mm-mm.
I don't. I think they've always been cooked.
But
It's like nettles. People are having nettle tea nowadays. Nettles has been around forever and ever.
Mhm.
Wonderful if you know how to pick them. Take them, wrap a steak in to cook it over a low fire or a trout. Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
make sure you got good hand protection.
Yes, and
Don't.
people don't realize where they get stung from. If you come
Hmm.
up under a young leaf underneath, you're going to
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
you're going to get stung.
Okay.
I learned that about us. And I have to tell you this, and please forgive me, it's not being crude. One of the things that I was taught when I was 7 and was being taught, not magic, how to survive in the woods,
Mhm.
what to eat if you don't have anything to eat, what bark of a tree you can eat, and what will give you moisture. And one of the things was that, what if you don't have toilet paper?
Mm.
Right.
Don't use nettle.
Hey, moss,
Yeah.
moss, or a
Mhm.
fern.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, and I learned how to dig quick because we didn't have inside plumbing where I was
Mhm.
of any kind. Yeah.
Joe,
Well, I had a
and then
quick question. Can I ask a
oh,
quick question?
yes, do.
And I probably missed this because I came in late, but I was going to ask, where are you from, Norman?
Okay, I was
that-
born in Pennsylvania,
Okay.
and I was trained in Quebec Province,
Okay, yeah.
on Reserve,
Mhm.
by Micmac Indian. Her name was Elizapai. I was 7 years old, turned 7 that summer. And I was the only child there. There were no other children. And so this was a wonderful adventure for me. A real Indian, listening to
Right.
Tom Mix and Tom Toad, all those. It began that way. And what blueberries were edible and which ones were not. And so you began things like that. And then the understanding of the sound came with science, of course. That's how I equate that now. I have my own little drum and my own little basket made out of birch bark and sealed with pine bark. So when a week you could tote water in or put vegetables that you gathered up out of the ground like they were a potato, you could get a legume and stuff.
Hmm.
And how to apply those things, like feverfew we talk about now, and echinacea. Those were old things used for blisters, upset stomach, etc. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Well, now
Sorry.
that's okay. I'll just close the recorded portion, and we can continue discussing whatever afterwards. That's not a problem at all. So thank you, Norman. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
that was a very interesting presentation, and hopefully we've all taken something away that can help us today. You know,
Mhm, definitely.
maybe we'll all sleep a little better tonight. Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Oracle Scroll. Any questions, comments, or anything at all can be forwarded to us at theoraclescroll@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Also, you may check kevinwalder.com for any further information on the work of your host. And we appreciate you being with us and hope you will spread the word, let your family and friends know how much fun it is to attend the Oracle Scroll. See you next time.